everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Rich Ad, Poor Ad podcast. Today we have Derek Tsuboi. He is, been in the game for about 7 years. He comes from a corporate, marketing background actually, and, working with an e-com brand, taking it from 8 mil to 50 mil in about 4 years. And, once he realized he was pretty good at this stuff, he is now doing a ton of consulting, working with e-com brands that spend, no less than 100K. But yeah, pumped to have him on board. He's done a ton of media buying. We have some super rich and poor ads and ads to roast. But Derek, thanks for coming on, man. Would love to kind of have you kind of give a little background on yourself so people have some insights there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Super stoked to be here. So as you mentioned, I came from a corporate marketing background. Started with a e-commerce business, doing about 8 million a year. When I first joined, I was part of a 4-man marketing team. Paid advertising pretty much drove the vast majority of the income, paid ads and email, of course. I started dabbling with paid ads there with that company, ended up getting really good at it. This was back when Facebook wasn't super blown up from the paid ad side yet. So I was actually able to generate 1.2 million off of $28,000 in ad spend at that time. Ooh. That was back in 2014, 2015. Yeah.
So the glory days.
I know.
That's what ROAS.
That was definitely the glory days. Very, very hard to get numbers, that good nowadays. From then I left. I've been with several agencies over the last few years before finally just deciding, you know what, I don't like working with other people. So I'm going to do consulting and kind of work just with some private clients and stop dealing with the headache of having 100 or 200 clients.
Oh man, the lone wolf move, it's definitely enjoyable, but my gosh, man, you just opened up a whole nother, book to that chapter more or less, or vice versa. So to kind of launch everything off, we would love to dive into with your kind of, spend management, some more financial principles, take a page out of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, maybe some kind of tips on maybe helping clients come up with budgets, how they're spending their money. We'd love to kind of dive into how you perceive the financial side of things. And Zach, if you have any specifics you'd like to kind of see, go ahead and lay them out. Let's dive into that financial side of things.
Yeah, let's do it. So part of the show, we always want to give advertisers, a tip on the financial principles of scaling ad spend. So Derek, if you've ever worked with a client and they were scaling their ads to the moon, and then next thing you know, they stopped working with you as an agency, or if you've ever asked a client, for 4 months straight to spend more on ads, but they're not, have you ran into any of those situations? And if so, what advice would you have for those advertisers listening?
Oh man, if I had a nickel. So I would like to kind of start this by saying there have been more than I can count on one hand number of occasions where, from the paid ad side of things are crushing. We're doing awesome. We're getting a great return, doing well, but the business owner or the person in charge of, say, the marketing department doesn't truly know their numbers. This is something I've seen time and time again. And when the business doesn't understand their numbers, and the numbers I'm talking about are what's their cost of goods, what is their actual break-even number, not just 1.0 or being a 1.1, hey, we're in the positive, what is the actual cost of goods being sold? Are there any other costs that we need to consider? And even from a standpoint of where we're actually super profitable and driving most of the business into the company, a lot of times they don't know or seem to get skeptical when they, hear that this is attributed to paid ads. So I guess the big thing I'd have to say is when businesses don't truly understand their financials and where their revenue is coming from, or how much it's actually costing them to acquire these sales, are when I run into kind of the biggest issues with clients.
Oh yeah. Not knowing your numbers.
Yeah. So
fair enough.
I guess that would be the number one piece of advice there would be to, make sure that your client or whoever you're working with, understands those numbers before you really start to scale or before you really start to get into the weeds. Because you may realize that either this client may not be such a great fit for you if those numbers are too constrained, or if the client just doesn't have a general understanding of where their sales are coming from, then you may be fighting an uphill battle that you're just never going to win.
Now, is the answer there just better analytics, or are there, some more tactical piece of advice other than like know your numbers, right? Because like know your numbers said every agency ever, right? Like,
of course.
So break that down, right?
So breaking that down further, what I would say is attribution modeling. Understanding, say, like even within their getting access to like their Google Analytics account, for example, would be a great move. There was a time where I didn't require that when I started working with clients. And if I could go back in time, I would backhand myself and say, no, you need to get into their analytics account ASAP, because you need to understand, one, where the sales are coming from. If they're driving most of their sales through email, and I'm sure you guys have dealt with this before, Facebook's crazy attribution modeling, sometimes they'll take a little bit too much credit for sales. So that's like something I would recommend highly, highly getting into right from the get-go. Tear into the GA if they have it. If they don't, and they're just like, say, a Shopify store, you can even get some decent numbers and attribution modeling from the Shopify store itself and see sort of where some of the sales are coming from. I wouldn't go to Facebook's ads manager platform to be the source of truth for this information starting out with a company, until you can kind of compare those numbers and see sort of how on or off the Facebook attribution modeling might be for that company. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Awesome. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, with you being a media buyer, are those kind of questions you always ask out of the gate, just to kind of gauge how it's truly into their business they really are, to kind of gauge if it's a good client for you? Or is that something you just kind of, learn as you go, more or less?
It's something I've learned over time to bring up in conversation right from the get-go. Some of the first questions I'll get into with clients is asking them sort of those prying questions of, what do your numbers look like? How much are you guys doing in sales versus how much is it costing you to get those numbers in sales? Where are you guys spending your budgets? What platforms are you actively investing in? Which are you not? Those are the sort of the things I like to try to find out right from the get-go, because that right there in itself is going to tell you a lot about that client before you even get into the ad account and take a look.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's always nice to working with somebody you enjoy to work with. That's always going to be one of those nice little benefits there.
Yeah, especially if they know a little bit about, what you're talking about. It definitely makes things a lot easier. I'd say with the clients I've worked with in the past, it's been probably about a 50-50 mix between working direct with the owner or kind of managing person versus working directly with like a marketing director, or working with, somebody that's in charge of a department per se.
Yeah. It's killer to kind of know those numbers. I think you're just kind of spot on there, just because no one really knows that stuff unless they really dig deep. And, as you mentioned, 1.1 is not going to cut it. So, it's one of those things for sure.
Hey, we're in the green.
Right. Scale. But sweet. Let's go ahead and kind of transition this to the kind of rich ad, poor ad segment. Would love to kind of dive into this poor ad first. As you mentioned, you spent a good 29, 30K on this bad boy. It didn't result in much, but just so everybody has some context, and this will be in the show notes, but we got Mr. Greg Luther, real estate coach, looking for quick closings. Join my free training this Wednesday. The link's in the description. Join now, blueprintforclosing.com. We got a video. He's going on and on. It's got 68,000 views, a ton of, a good amount of engagement. But Derek, go ahead and rip this apart and kind of why did this ad fail, more or less?
Oh, man. So as you guys will be able to see too from the screenshots, there's like several like variations of the ad I tried to run as well.
Yeah.
But basically what we're looking at here is a kind of pre-scripted, pre-recorded video. It's got a very short description with a direct call to action here to join the Inner Circle, which is just a monthly payment plan. And he's got the text at the very top, want quick closings. And then at the bottom, it's got real estate coach and his signature. So it's kind of got that frame with the text look. for a Facebook ad, those were working like super, super well. Still in some industries to my knowledge, but not in this case, obviously. As you can see, yeah, you mentioned we had 68,000 views on it, like 312 likes, bunch of shares and comments. This has all of the makings of what would be a good ad, but it's not.
Would you say it had to do more with the video, just the pitch, the landing page? What do you think stemmed the most from this? Because when I was reading the comments, hey, I'm loving your book. Coaching is the best. I mean, the comments look pretty decent. So I'm kind of curious where this drop off really consisted of.
Yeah. Like I said, it had the makings of being a very successful ad, checked all the boxes. And honestly, I think what really fell off on this was I feel like this was just too salesy at the time. And you'll kind of see what I'm talking about when we talk about the rich ad. But in this case, like this ad screams, I'm an ad. And I feel like in this case, that's why it did not work very well. I think people, of course, really like the content, as you can see from the engagements and everything, but the ad just did not sell very well. Like people just did not buy the product. I think we made back $3,000 and we spent $29K.
Man.
Yeah. So that's a salary right there for a lot of people out here. And I just blew that in like 3 weeks.
Man, and yeah, this came back with about a 3K, return essentially.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you can't win them all. I mean, I'm sure the rich ad, kind of breaks that up even. But my gosh, to kind of really derail this a little bit more, let's go ahead and dive in and roast a random ad I found on the internet yesterday. Y'all ready for this one?
Oh, man.
Alrighty. So I'm going to go ahead and give everybody some context. This will be, in the show notes. It's terrible. I'm excited for it. So it's some Blue Ellie Amazon brand product page. It starts off with some fire emojis. Amazing. The item name, they straight ripped this from Alibaba, 4 by 16.4 feet. LED strip lights for bedroom, kitchen, TV party. The worst start to an ad you could probably ever see. Music sync, Bluetooth control, adjustable brightness, 10 beta testers per day. Requirements, you must have an Amazon account. You must have a PayPal. Do not share this deal with any Facebook group and message us if you're interested. And I mean, the image isn't terrible. The lights look pretty sick, but my gosh, you can tell they ripped this and did a terrible job doing so. So, Derek, first thoughts. Go ahead and rip this bad boy apart.
Oh, man, I've been waiting. So, yeah, I don't know what the heck is going on with these emojis in the very beginning. So we got like love eyes, 2 of them, fire, 2 of them, a random comma, amazing, double exclamation. I don't even wow.
The copy is terrible.
Yeah, and then the line below that is definitely the product name. So I don't know why the product name is there. That's just obviously just terrible. Music sync, Bluetooth control, adjustable brightness here. It literally looks like they pulled like the product description and added it to the description of the ad itself. I love the the little emoji next to the please message us if you're interested. The first one there, that is like a placeholder emoji for like whenever the emoji you're trying to use like isn't recognized by Facebook. So in my opinion, like seeing that, like I see that in ads a lot. It just makes me laugh because no one really checked what they were doing.
Oh yeah.
Image isn't bad, I mean, it's pretty terrible.
So what do you think the conversion around this bad boy was? Just ballparking numbers here.
Dude, it's got to be like 0.2.
That's higher than I was going to give it. I wasn't even going to give it 0.1%. Like, oh my gosh. Zach,
surprised.
Zach, let's hear your thoughts. Is this something you would buy the kiddos, maybe for your house? What's your thought process on this bad boy?
Dude, that isn't even worth commenting on. It's awful.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand. Like, I feel like something's going on here from an affiliate standpoint. Like, you have to have. They're clearly trying to like get I'm trying to roast a shitty ad here, but I'm really trying to break down the strategy. It says like Blue Ellie Amazon product, and a requirement is you have to have an Amazon account. Like they're clearly an Amazon affiliate. But like, what's with you have to have PayPal, and like, what's with the do not share this deal with a Facebook group? Like, people are wanting them to do that, and it's reverse psychology, or what's going on there?
I was thinking exclusivity, if anything, but I don't. Yeah, this is a rough one.
I'm thinking reverse psychology. Definitely reverse psychology.
Yeah, and I would love to meet the person who is like, oh, I'm going to share this in my group. You know, wow. All right. We had to ease it up a little bit, y'all. This ad surprisingly converted at 1.4%. You know, psych, no idea. It probably crapped the bed pretty hardcore. But,
oh man, you had me going there for a second. I was like, "What are stats on this?"
This is actually my ad. No. Oh man, that would be embarrassing. All right. So another derail, y'all. Let's go ahead and dive into these rich ads, kind of add some flavor to this. So before we kind of dive into the more context of these, how do these perform? Were they similar in spend, 29, 30K? And what kind of, ROAS or ROI were you seeing on these bad boys?
On the rich ads, we were seeing some pretty serious returns. We average typically anywhere from maybe a 4 to an 8 times return, which is pretty solid when you're spending, say, 30K on average per asset.
Yeah.
So in this case, we basically created 2 Facebook Live videos. We got really pumped on the idea of just doing Facebook Live because, hey, it's like super easy. We don't need to bring out the camera crew, no like editing, no crazy lights and stuff, no flying anybody out anywhere. Like, let's just get Greg to go live on his phone and just drop some knowledge, and then we'll run it as an ad and see what happens.
So these were actual Facebook Lives you turned into ads, or was it a live you just made a bunch of money off of?
No, it's a Facebook Live that we turned into ads.
Oh, wow.
It literally couldn't be any easier.
Yeah, and the copy is so simple. Don't ever call your buyer or seller leads. Here's a link. 150,000 views, 295 comments, 100 shares. My gosh. I mean, the copy just really makes you, all right, why would I never call my leads or buyers? So, I mean, was it just kind of one of those things kind of you mentioned on like the roast ads where kind of more of have the opposite effect to get people to do it and listen, or kind of what's the concept or strategy behind these?
Yeah, that's the idea is the polarizing content or polarizing text, I should say, this in the real estate niche are things that, are just very controversial. So what we found is that utilizing this Facebook Live strategy, we could actually reduce our cost massively and time it takes to like post content and create content just by doing lives, doing one kind of like main sentence really. And you could see in these ads, like there's no CTA really. Like we just put the link in there, like no click here, none of that, just the link. And it just crushes. It's crazy. I never would have expected this to happen, but it did. And I have tons of examples of these exact same types of videos just crushing.
So once you kind of cracked this code, you definitely started stemming more to the lives and transitioning those to the ad side of things.
Yes. And I've actually seen that same level of success among other coaches, course creators, influencers, anyone that's kind of like a thought leader. It just seemingly works like so well for some reason. I have some speculation on that, of course.
Now, with this specific service offering, et cetera, what's the kind of AOV sitting around?
So the product itself is $377 per month. So it's actually a monthly membership.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why we can afford to spend so much on ads is because, there's no COGS at all. 1.01 is profit for Greg. So that's not even really a big deal. And then being able to spend, as much as we can for the ads, we can just continue to drive sales,
Oh yeah. And I mean, we haven't had an ad like this before. It's where it was from a live, very selfie style, very user generated content looking. And I mean, it's super native. It's as native you can get on Facebook. So, man,
That's the
I think,
secret.
it's, hey, and that secret sauce works, you know, 'cause I'm getting hungry and that's all I can kind of think about now is that sauce. So, I mean, that works. So, Zach, when it comes to this kind of rich ad, would you have expected this bad boy to come from a live video, actually? Because I'm kind of curious on your thoughts on this because we've never seen this before.
You know, gosh, I feel like the first ads that I saw were that came from live videos were in 2015. I think it was 2015 with like Dr. Axe. And he had his like bone broth products, and he was doing these like 30-minute like little mini webinars on Facebook Lives, and then just promoting them. And they cleaned up for, I think that was like when Facebook Live like came out, and it crushed. And it's actually really encouraging to see like it that strategy is still relevant, because I hadn't really heard or seen anybody do that in the last year or so.
Oh yeah, and I mean, coming from the poor ad spending about 29-30K in it, you know, crapping the bed a little bit. What would you say y'all spend on average for these, you know, these kind of top of funnel campaigns here? I mean, is that 30K similar to the test, or was this video or these, you know, bundles of videos going over 100K, or any kind of concepts you can kind of reveal there?
Yeah. So between those two videos, and it basically, the reason I included two was because it was the same video, essentially.
Yeah.
We basically just re-recorded it again, the same idea, just to see if we could duplicate the success, you know, like 6 months later, just recreate the same live. And of course we sort of did. So we were able to kind of proof and concept the idea or the content of the ad. But getting down to the numbers, we spent 60K cumulatively between these two Facebook Lives. And we brought back, let me do the math here, 29,000 plus 22,000 times 3, $153,000 on this.
Little calculator promo right there. Little TI-83 action.
Yeah, right? No affiliation here.
Oh, that's gold. But man, that's quite a difference there. I mean, hey, for that poor ad, spent, you know, 30K, 30K, made 3K. And that rich ad spent 60-ish K, made 150K. So, I mean, that's quite a difference there. And I mean, the production's different. The live is just the biggest standout to me. So, I mean, those are two pretty, you know, 180 types of ads right there. And my gosh, they perform so differently.
Yeah, the big thing to remember here too is in the actual Facebook reporting, it only is reporting our initial sale. So the first 377 gets tracked by Facebook, and then I didn't have the offline conversions like set up to track the recurring revenue from the clients. Average monthly lifespan of a client is about 3 to 4 months. So you take, you know, the inner circle sign up column or the, you know, revenue column and times it by 3. It should technically be 3.5 to be completely kosher. But even at 3 times, 153,000 on a 60K spend for an info product, you know, that has absolutely no cost associated with it is just pretty phenomenal when you think about like how much effort it took to just like record a 10-minute Facebook Live, write like a sentence and put a link in the description.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, for y'all listening out there, if you want to test a wild angle, record a live, turn that bad boy into an ad and watch the money flow in.
Dude, for real, if you haven't tried that strategy with your brand, and especially if you have like an influencer type of brand or thought leader type of situation, coach, course creator, content, this strategy could work super well for you. It's worked really well for me since early 2019. Even still to this day, this is part of our main marketing strategy. Across the board last year, I think we were doing about a little under 2 million, and now we're doing well over 6. And that is 100% the result of Facebook advertising. And I'd say 95% of our ads are Facebook Lives.
Man, that's nice there. Heck yeah. Well, Derek, man, that was super juicy and a super different ad than we're kind of typically getting there. So what's the best way for people to kind of get in contact with you, check out and see what you're kind of doing there?
Right now, I have my website, derektsuboi.com. There's a contact form on there that you can reach out if you want to get in touch with me. I do some private consulting. I will be coming out with some courses and some content here soon as well. I've finally started to clear my schedule. I'm getting tired of growing everyone else's businesses. It's time to grow mine.
Heck yeah. Well, snap. Y'all heard it from Derek. Derek, once again, man, thank you so much for coming on and kind of sharing that value. We absolutely geeked out over it. So, hey, once again, man, much appreciated.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me, Dylan and Zach. Super stoked to be here. Very excited.
Heck yeah. Well, cool. We'll go ahead and wrap that episode up. But everybody, have a good one.